Hello, I'm Nan Simonson. I'm going to give a shout out to one of my favorite people, and that is Dan Buettner. I read his Blue Zones book, and I have been following what he has done for a long time. I don't know if you know, he holds a world's record for cycling. I believe it's across 5 continents or something. He's quite a guy, and he worked with the National Geographic's people as an archaeologist to map out they were called blue zones because somebody wrote them in blue on the map, but to identify the longest living groups of people in the world. And they were called blue zones. There were 5 of them: Icaria, Greece; Sardinia, Italy; Okinawa, Japan; the Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica; and Loma Linda, California, about 15 minutes from me, the Seventh-day Adventist population of Loma Linda, California. And they are the longest living people in the world. And Dan Buettner has a very active Instagram page. He posts regularly. I think it's a great idea that you look at that. I have his Blue Zones kitchen, which is the recipes. He went back and spent time with these families and came back with recipes from their kitchen. I made my Thanksgiving dinner last year for our family from, well, actually, not that book, but this book, his Blue Zones American Kitchen. And it was from the early settlers and the indigenous people of America. And we had a wonderful meal. So I was looking at his Instagram, and something really inspired me, and that was his making of the soup I'm going to make for you today. But it sort of got, I'll use the word wonky, because when he put it together, he said you put it in the Instant Pot for 1 minute and then you do a natural release. But he had thrown in frozen chickpeas, and what I never really got clear was whether or not those chickpeas were cooked. But it all looked so good. I'm going to do it sort of the way he did, because it inspired me to do this for tonight's dinner. You know how hot it is here in Riverside, California? I'm in Southern California. It's 102 degrees out right now, but I actually love soup in the summertime. They say that if you ingest hot fluids, you sweat, which keeps you cool. It doesn't sound appetizing, does it? But nevertheless, this looks like a great soup. And on the Instagram feed, it related to a recipe that we could go to mimic what he was doing, but it's a different recipe. It wasn't what he did. And I know how these things happen. So I have no problem with any of that, but I'm going to do it the way he did. So I'm Dan Buettner, and I am putting together, I believe he called it his Icarian stew. And in Icaria, Greece, if that's what we're doing here, or maybe the Sardinian minestrone, maybe that's what it is, but maybe chickpeas. He said that they eat their soup every day, and his proposal is that we go bean heavy every day, because all of the blue zones are bean heavy. So let me get right into it. What I have is my 6-quart Instapot. If you don't have an Instapot, I understand. I had one for 6 months and wouldn't touch it because it's sort of, I just wasn't sure what to do, and I thought I didn't need anything like that. But I'm going to be leaving in just a bit. I have a number of things to do today, and I'm not going to think about this again. It's going to cook. It's going to turn itself off. It's going to just sit. Natural release means I don't have to come along and push the release valve. And depending on the iteration of this that you have, the release valve could be this. It could be a little something different. You'll find that with the Instapots. I don't have to do anything. I'll come back. I'm sure that the steam will be released by then. That's natural release. and we'll have it for dinner with some chopped avocado and red onion and some vegan sour cream on it, and I just can't wait. Look at these vegetables. This is, to me, old-fashioned homemade stew. So I have the ingredients he showed us, which was an onion, but he had a red onion, inspiring us to use red because it has the anthocyanins similar to what blueberries have, but I don't have red onion. So it's about a 10-ounce onion. I have 5 or 6 stalks of celery. I have 6 carrots. I'm going to be putting in some garlic. And in the recipe that I printed, it encourages, and I normally would do this, that we saute, and in my case it's dry saute. He uses oil. I don't use oil in my cooking. I follow Caldwell Esselstyn's recommendation that we keep processed oils because I believe whole food is best. I'll eat the food, not what somebody pushes out of it, even though olive oil isn't terrible in that way if it's cold pressed virgin olive oil. What he encourages is what I would have done, which is to brown the onion. It does bring out better flavor, but on his Instagram he didn't even do that. He simply threw in the onion, and I'm gonna do it that way because I got things to do and people to see. He then put in the celery. I'm gonna be amazed if some of this doesn't end up on the floor, but I was determined to take it off the board the way he did because it was inspiring. All right, and then we'll use some fresh herbs, and I'm putting in, well, let me put in the chickpeas first. I could have used canned chickpeas, but I like to use dry chickpeas because I can control the salt. I can control what I have here. This is a organic chickpea, and it's not sitting in a can. Though I do have cans of chickpeas because when I want to make a hummus and I don't have any of this in the freezer, what I did with this is I cooked in the Instapot only 14 minutes and then natural release 2 pounds of organic chickpeas covered by maybe 1.5 inches of water with some onion, carrot, and celery in it, no salt, and laid them out after straining them for a while on a cookie sheet, put that in the freezer, and they freeze like little roly-polies. I put it on a parchment paper and sort of loosened them up, and then put them in 1-quart freeze lock bags, and that's how I store them. So it's really easy. I needed 6 cups. It was, you know, with a 1 quart, it's a bag and a half, because 1 quart is 4 cups. I wanted 6. And 1 pound of beans, by the way, is going to yield usually 3 cups of cooked beans. I'm sorry, 1 cup is going to yield 3 cups, and 1 pound of legumes, dried beans, peas, etc., are usually about 2 cups. That's just the way they come out. Okay, then I'm going to pour in a can, 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes, and these happen to be fire roasted, which is even better because they're going to have, and I'm gonna get some of the sauce out, or some of the tomato out of here, because they'll have even a better flavor. And then I'm gonna put 8 cups of broth. And this broth is broth that I make from scraps that I keep in my freezer in a 1-gallon freezer bag, and then cook when the bag is full. But I also saved some of the aqua faba, which is the broth from beans, but mostly it is identified as the broth from chickpeas. And it was so flavorful because I had so much in it that I saved it, and I decided to use it in this. I'm putting in 9 cloves of garlic. You're probably thinking, my gosh, that's going to be strong. These are roasted garlic cloves. I followed Tammy of Nutmeg Notebook's recommendation and bought the 1.5 pounds of garlic, organic, from Costco, then roasted it, then froze it separate, then put it into freezer bags, and they stick together anyway. And I love having that roasted garlic in 1 quart bags to put on everything, and it's very mild. It sweetens it, and so you don't have that bite of garlic. So I throw it into everything, and a lot of it. Being Italian, garlic is what I grew up on. I went to my garden and picked some fresh thyme. I have fresh bay leaf, and I'm putting in a little more than a teaspoon of dry oregano. I do have fresh oregano, but I think it's too strong. I've used it to cook before and thought it was too tannic and too strong. Well, you have just seen me make an error, because this is too much for this pot. The maximum line is way down here, and especially with beans, because they can have a broth and therefore almost an, I'm going to call it air quality in there, that's almost viscous, and that can cause a lot of problem with stopping up the air vents and the vents of an Instapot. I have an 8 quart, so take note. If you're going to make the recipe with these quantities, use your 8 quart. I have an 8 quart. When I've turned you off, I'm going to dump all this in the 8 quart. Then I'll have my soup out of the 8 quart. And there was something I wanted to steam anyway, so some rice, some forbidden rice. I make that, I freeze it, and then I can use it for a lot of things. That's called batch cooking. And I'll just leave this out, and I'll do that with that. So that's all I have to say. My herbs, including my bay leaf, I grow. And at the end, he explained that he loves this product, and I buy it, organic. This is better than bouillon, seasoned vegetable base. And as he explained, there's an umami to this that I haven't been able to match in any way. Well, part of it is because it uses some ingredients that aren't what I would call whole food, things you would find in your kitchen. It has onion and tomato and soy sauce and salt, but it has maltodextrin, which I'm not crazy about using. However, the amount that you use is so small, the volume that you get is so big that I allow that. See, I have some shortcomings in that way. Okay, that's all I have to say. You'll see the photo of the finished soup. Maybe I'll even come back on and show you, but I'm not sure how that afternoon will flow, and so I'm not sure I'll do that. I'll put the cover on. Now look at this. Remember I said on his video, he said, put it on 1 minute. I thought, oh no, I don't think so. Not much happens in 1 minute. But on the recipe that I printed, it said 5 minutes. I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna do that. And I'll tell you differently on the recipe that you will get from me. I'm putting this down to 5 minutes if that did not work well, okay? And this is kind of the way I roll. And I include you in it when I'm experimenting. Okay, thank you, Dan Buettner. Thank you for your books. His books are marvelous because they are well photographed. He has an honest and a heartfelt mission to see us living longer. It is a shame. See, now I'm on my soapbox. It is a shame that our population is failing health-wise. We have one of the highest healthcare costs in the world, and yet we're one of the richest countries in the world, and it's partially because allopathic medicine, unless you need something fixed, like a broken something, you walk in, you say you're sore, you get a pill, you get a procedure, you have heart problems. They did that to me at what, 55, 60? I had all kinds of things going on, and all they wanted to do was medicate. No, actually 5 years ago when I went plant-based, 100% plant-based, They wanted to do, it was statins, it was metformin for prediabetes, it was for rheumatoid arthritis, immunosuppressants, take out my gallbladder because it was sludgy. I mean, there were lots of things wrong. And I said, no, I'm gonna do this with food, whole food, plant-based. And you know what? It worked. I'm 72 and I feel that I'm aging backwards. That's why I wrote, actually 3 years ago in December, which is a few months from now, Aging Powerfully. I had a story to tell, a background that wasn't so stellar. And then becoming a health coach, working fortunately for one of the founders of lifestyle medicine, and being able to show people that we don't have to do what we see all around us. People don't have to die in their 50s and 60s and early 70s from chronic diseases, 70–80% of which are lifestyle related. Well, I'm going to get off my soapbox and say goodbye. Have a great day. I know I'm going to. And thank you for watching. I'm looking for my little sign-off doodah. I can't find it, so I'll just say goodbye. Hi, I'm back. And I want to show you what I have here. I wonder if I can, oh. So I did change from the 6-quart to the 8-quart. It was absolutely necessary. I wonder if I could do this. You're saying, no, man, no, it's hot. And it is. But you can't see. I'm going to bring the camera to the bowl. Look. This is, let's see if I can get that there. This is our beautiful soup. I could have used less broth. Sorry for the shakiness of it. But you'll see it in a bowl. I'll take a photo of it in a bowl when I'm plating it with some avocado, some chopped red onions, some parsley. Oh, I tasted it. It's delicious. But I'm going to do what he does. I'm going to put a big fat spoonful of the Better Than Bouillon. What this really does is it salts it. It salts it, seasons it, maltodextrose it, which is kind of a sweeter thing. Let me see if I can taste it right now. You know what? It does add an umami. It's really nice. But this is high sodium, so don't do that if that's not you. And I don't do it all the time. But I must say I do use this from time to time because it does add a lot of flavor. So I'm going to unplug this. I've shown it to you. Did you see before it went off that I walked away? I did a number of, we're going away for a bit, and so I have a lot of things to do, and so I did a number of stops. It's been 53 minutes since I turned, not since I turned it on. I turned it on, it came up to pressure, cooked 5 minutes. What's perfect about that is that these vegetables are not mush. If they had cooked much longer, they would have been. And remember, the chickpeas were hot. But I want to tell you about the rest of my meal. No, I'm not even going to move this yet because it's heavy. Okay, so I have a fire on over there because what I'm about to put on is, so we have this wonderful soup. Remember, it's a really hot day today, but it's cool in the house. I cut the tops off of artichokes, cut the bottoms off so that I could get them in the pan. And you can do artichokes in a pressure cooker in the Instant Pot, and I think I have, but it didn't seem to be that much of an advantage over just putting it in this. This is a La Crusade heavy dish. It takes 20 to 25 minutes for that size, so I wanted to get that started. My husband will be home in just a couple of minutes. And the other thing I'm offering for our meal tonight is this marvelous corn on the cob, just picked from the farm store. So I'm going to, and you wouldn't do this maybe, but Dr. Greger says it's not a problem, so yes, I use a microwave oven. I just don't stand in front of it when it's working because I'm concerned about EMF, electromagnetic fields, and I do believe that any really strong electrical appliance will emit an electrical field, and so I just stay away from them while they're working. Even my oven, I don't work right there. So I'll put some water in this, put this collapsible silicone top on it, and in 10 minutes I'll have delicious corn on the cob. So we're going to start with the artichokes. The corn goes on when we're eating our artichokes, giving us some time. I have these beautiful bowls that I love to plate our soup in. I'll go ahead and put some of it in now, but I want to add more later so that it doesn't get cool. But even like this, even like that, what a lovely, and I say brothy because that's the way I like my broth, or my soup. I don't like them very thick. And it's going to be delicious with the cool avocado and the cool red onion. And then one of my stops was Trader Joe's. And they have something new, an organic brown beech mushroom. I read it, and it says cut off a 1/2 inch of the bottom, must be cooked well. Look at this adorable thing. Love mushrooms. As Joel Furman says, we want G-bombs every day, which include mushrooms. So we have mushrooms a lot. So this thing has its own little button at the bottom. I'll cut off a 1/2 inch, which is going to loosen the whole thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in my air fryer, but I'm going to bake it. I'm going to try 375. I have this old baking thing that is, well, it looks old. And this is a piece of parchment that I do our potatoes on in the air fryer for lunch. Because I don't use oil, want to add some moisture and flavor. So I'm going to dip this in here. I probably could somewhat cook it that way, but it would cool off my soup, and I don't know that it would be long enough to cook it. All right. I'm just making this up. Let's see what happens, because this is very flavorful. I'm going to take off that 1/2 inch, which is going to make it fall apart. Grab it like that, 1/2 inch, or maybe it won't. I wish it wouldn't. Well, yes, it's falling apart. And then I'm going to put them, well, no, it's still staying together to a degree. I'm going to put this in the air fryer, but not on air fry. And so we're going to have this wonderful, almost like little appetizers all the way around. And I'm really looking forward to this. That's all I have to say. When people say to me, oh, I could never go plant-based, I would miss my meat. How many meats are there? 4 or 5 things that are animal product that something had to die for? Well, what about the thousands and thousands of different plant foods, whole foods that are plant-based, that can give you these amazing flavors and combinations and colors? And by the way, the more colors you eat of plant foods, the happier your microbiome is and the healthier you are going to be. So all the colors of the rainbow, a myriad of different kinds of beans. Well, beans and legumes is the same thing somewhat. There's pulses, but that's getting detailed. But your legumes, your grains, your seeds and nuts and greens, and and I'm going to, that's what I'm going to do. I am going to throw some shredded kale in here too, because I really like to add greens to absolutely everything. And you'll see in the photo that it just looks richer and better. Well, it's pretty the way it is, but the greens will be in there. The mushrooms, which are funguses and very healthy, should be cooked. Even though this one says be sure to cook it and cook it well. Some people still put raw mushrooms on a salad bar, and I don't think that's a good idea. So that's all I have to say. I hope you're having a great day. I know I am. And I want to thank you for your time and attention. Consider reading Aging Powerfully. subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. Let's get the word out that people can live so well through their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, into their 80s and 90s, not falling apart and making every dream they have come true because physically they're still capable of doing it. It's a shame when we lose people young simply because of chronic diseases that were lifestyle related. That's all I'm going to say. Bye-bye.